Easter Island, tiny island in the South Pacific Ocean, and its closest inhabited neighbor is Pitcairn Island, some 2,075 kilometers away. Chile is the nearest continental landmass to Easter Island, 3,512 kilometers to the east, nearly 6 hours flying time. Now that's what you call remote. It is roughly 64 square miles of volcanic rock formed from a series of volcanic explosions, and the highest point is Mount Taravaca, 600 meters high. They were the first Europeans to reach the island, and James Cook was the first British visitor in 1774. Half of them are still at the quarry site, but nearly 900 were transported to different sites around the island. Around a third were placed on stone platforms called ajas, which were situated about half a mile apart, forming an almost unbroken line around the perimeter of the island. Another 600 statues, in various stages of completion, are scattered throughout the island. Some of the most striking and most photographed are those buried into the slopes of a volcanic hill, leaving just their heads showing. On average, they are 4 meters high and weigh in at around 12.5 tons, and the tallest finished moai was 10 meters high and weighed 82 tons, whilst the biggest unfinished statue would have been an incredible 21 meters high and weighed an enormous 270 tons. Recent theories believe that they were representatives of dead ancestors as well as the embodiment of powerful chiefs, both living and deceased. Some of the statues have a red stone hat or topknot. This is believed to symbolize the hair of chieftains, giving the statue additional power and status. The statues mainly faced inland, supposedly watching over the people, except for 7 that are looking out to sea. We still don't really know for sure, and most likely it involved some combination of ropes, log rollers, wooden sleds, and a great deal of manpower. Numerous experiments have been carried out to try and transport statues using only the resources available at the time. None so far have been successful, although in 2011, 2 American universities proved that a 3 meters high Maui weighing 5 tons could be moved in an upright position by just 18 people using 3 ropes, elbow grease, and a great deal of teamwork. Finally, the Rapa Nui were forcibly moved from their tribal lands, which were used by settlers for farming, and eventually, all native blood died out. The huge stone figures of Easter Island have beguiled explorers, researchers, and the wider world for centuries. But now experts say they have cracked one of the biggest mysteries: why the statues are where they are. Researchers say they have analyzed the locations of the megalithic platforms, or AHU, on which many of the statues known as moai sit, as well as scrutinizing sites of the island's resources, and have discovered the structures are typically found close to sources of fresh water. Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, has more than 300 megalithic platforms, each of which might have been made by a separate community. The first of these are believed to have been constructed in the 13th century, and many are found around the coast. It is thought the monuments represent ancestors and were linked to ritual activity, forming a focal point for communities, but the reason for their locations was previously a mystery. While studies have suggested the sites might have been chosen because of a link to key resources, the team says the latest research is the first attempt to scrutinize such claims. The team focused on the east of the island, where various resources have been well mapped, and looked at the distribution of 93 megalithic platforms constructed before European sailors turned up in the 18th century. After finding no link to the proximity of rock used for tools or for the monuments, they looked at whether the AHU were found near other important resources, gardens spread with stones in which crops like sweet potatoes were grown, sites linked to fishing, and sources of fresh water. The island has no permanent streams, and there is little evidence that residents relied on the island's lakes. It is sort of amazing at low tide when the water goes down. Suddenly there are streams running off at different spots right at the coast that are just pure fresh water, said Lipo. We noticed this, actually, when we were doing a survey on the island, that we would see horses drinking from the ocean. Historical records reveal islanders drank this rather brackish water, while studies suggest they also made wells to capture drinking water. The results of the new research, published in the journal PLOS ONE, revealed proximity to freshwater sites is the best explanation for the AHU locations and explains why they crop up inland as well as on the coast. The exceptions to the rule about being at the coast where water comes out actually are met by the fact there is also water there. It is found through cave locations, said Lipo, adding historic wells were found to explain some AHU locations apparently without fresh water. Every time we saw massive amounts of fresh water, we saw giant statues, he said. It was ridiculously predictable, he added. Most people have heard of the decimation of the population of Easter Island, also called Rapa Nui, and have seen pictures of the massive stone statues, moai, that line the coastline. The conventional explanation of population decline is that the islanders cut down all the island's trees, precipitating an ecological reaction that killed off most of the population.